That's kind of a long, winding way of how I ended up at Howard, and almost did end up at Howard a couple times. With Coach missing the lunch, and then with the So
if
Welcome to the Bison Brothers Basketball Podcast, your number one for all things Howard basketball. My name is Chip Washington, your self-appointed Bison basketball fanatic.
What's up, family? It's your boy Brian B. Smooth Foston, still the lover of all things Howard and the lover of all things basketball. It's good to see everybody tonight. Ewash, man, we missed you, bro.
What's up, man? I'm trying to not spontaneously combust over here today.
as we bring the welcome back theme. Welcome back,
right.
Ewash.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Missed you for a while. We missed you for a while. So good to see you, man. So since we missed you for a while, tell the people where you been, man.
Okay, that is an excellent question. And all I can think about is telling you what you did on my summer vacation.
well, hold up. Before you get into that, we want to tell the people.
Okay.
We want to tell the people why we're here.
Excellent point.
And the reason that we are here. And so, Bison Nation, as always, we're here to tell you to support these championship teams. Support the women's team, support the men's team. And you can do that in so many ways. So many ways. You can donate to the MEAC Society. That is Howard's Name, Image, and Likeness Collective. You can do that by going to the MEACsociety.org. You can also donate to the athletics department and through the Bison Express Booster Club at hubison.com. And as you've already watched the episode, we have a new partner that you can donate to and support the athletes, and that is FanStake. You can do that by going to fanstake.com and using the code MECA25. And I'm sure our guest today will tell us a little bit more about that partnership. And so there's so many ways to support this team. And Bison Nation, don't forget, please continue to tell everybody about this podcast. You can hear us just about anywhere. You can hear us on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, and you can interact with us on Instagram at Bison Brothers Basketball. So continue to tell everybody about the podcast and just share the love. And be smooth. Do you want to talk about the challenge that we got out there to Bison?
We can talk about a challenge. Absolutely. So by the time you hear this one, we'll be well on our way. We've been doing pretty well so far, Chip. Each week we have more and more viewers. We hit a nice little milestone of 50,000 hours of people viewing our channel on YouTube. 50,000 just a few days ago before we taped this episode. And we hit over 200 subscribers, all Bison fans. So we're building it one kind of fan at a time. So we have a challenge that before the end of the summer, we want to have 500 subscribers. And before the beginning of the season, we want 1,000 Bison Nation fans following the podcast. And so you'll hear more about it. Check out our Instagram site. You'll hear about it on our episodes. But we want to make sure we get every Bison that's in the herd accounted for on the podcast. So 500 before the end of the summer, 1,000 before the beginning of the season. And we're going to do what we got to do. This is fun. This is why we do it.
That's what's up.
No doubt.
Guest too. I mean, oh my God. He not only is he what's good for basketball, not only is he what's good for Howard basketball specifically, but he embodies the fact that in a lot of ways, Howard is ahead of the curve on all of the things that we're talking about. So
that's a tease. That's a tease.
Strong day, man. Strong day.
Is a great Tease. And we appreciate that, Ewash. And with that, Tease, why don't we we'll introduce our guest.
And he was raised right because he passed the Richard Pryor test too.
Yeah, shout out to Minnie Pearl for you wearing your tag on your shirt like that, bro.
Yeah.
So, since today's guest is on the coaching staff, and so with the players, you know, we've brought a few highlights of the players as we introduce them, and so in that same vein, as we introduce our next guest, we're gonna play a few highlights of our next guest. So, in 2022.
Whoa, what are we doing here? What are we doing? What's that move? What is that move?
That house video with them kids.
Hey,
So we have Mr. Daniel Marks, who's the program's first ever chief program strategist. In his role at Howard, Daniel focuses on growth in all areas of the program, including basketball operations, community alumni engagement, NIL issues, and long-range development. This position is an important step in helping Howard stay forward-thinking as new trends in college athletics continue to emerge. Now, before Howard, Daniel Marks spent 9 seasons with the Milwaukee Bucks. And with the Bucks, Daniel served as manager of prospect information, preparing collegiate scouting responsibilities for the general manager and assistant manager, along with his own regional scouting at the NBA, G League, and NCAA levels. As part of the Bucks front office that took the team from 15 wins in 2013 and 2014 to the 2021 NBA championship, Daniel Marks was involved with all areas of the Bucks basketball operations department, not just scouting, but also salary cap analysis, intel gathering, draft prep, and G League operations. Beyond his work in basketball, and this is just one of the organizations that he's been affiliated with, Marks founded Scouting and Scavenging, SNS, in early 2020 to encourage sports professionals now from over 120 programs, pro to prep, to collect unused hotel toiletries from their travels for underserved communities. This was featured in many media outlets, and SNS has donated over 2,500 pounds of supplies, mostly via its partnership with the Newark, New Jersey Food Relief Program, which was run by none other than Bison alum, Newark Mayor Raz J. Baraka, our classmate, and the chief of staff of Miri Baraka, also classmate. And one other little tidbit, Amiri Baraka was the head coach of our new transfer, Destiny Bynum Johnson, on the women's team.
Wow.
So look, we could go on and on about Daniel and his contributions to the Mecca, but this is why we have him on the show. And so without further ado, we'll bring Mr. Daniel Marks to the stage.
So Daniel, it's good to see you, my friend. And I know for those that watch the show, he had a pretty big hand in getting my youngest daughter, Ashley, excited about sports and getting into sports. So appreciate you.
Yeah, I had a big hand in telling her to eschew the stability of a job in finance and business.
You did. Yeah. Let's just say her mom doesn't like you as much as I do, but that's bad. I'm interviewing you tonight and not her. She sends her regards. But I did want to, I guess, follow on with Chip's question, because I was one of those people like, you really left the NBA for Howard? That's crazy. We're going to come back to that. But I want to make sure that you get a chance to really just define for people. So what does your role really look like day to day as a program strategist for Howard, just because it's so new? What does it look like for folks?
So I would say there is no typical day-to-day in college athletics, and I think that goes for the head coach down to the student manager to the athletic. Like, you could be in the office one day, and then the player loses his dorm key, so you're on the phone with housing to get a replacement dorm key. You could be traveling and the bus breaks down. You could be, in the middle of a recruiting visit and find out, your players in the transfer portal. Like, I'll give a great example of just kind of the unpredictability of it. So after the 22-23 season, that was a great season. My first year, by far my most, one of my favorite, probably my favorite year in sports, just being able to win 22 games. We did our Black Maternal Health Social Justice Project. That was really neat, going to the NCAA tournament. And that core of that team, Elijah Hawkins, Shiota, Marcus Dockery, Steve Settle, Jordan Wood, like they could have all still been at Howard through last season. They all still had remaining eligibility. So we were really excited, like second most wins in program history. We were going to return pretty much everyone other than Kobe Dixon that next year. And then, Steve put his name in the transfer portal and it was like, okay, that's a tough loss. But we got Dom Campbell to commit like right away. And then no one else had put their name in the portal, and we had the meetings and we were feeling like good about the roster. Like we got one spot to kind of figure out what we want to do with. So coach decides to book a vacation to Mexico, and he goes to Mexico and he gets there on a Monday. And within about 5 hours of landing in Mexico, Elijah Hawkins and Jordan Wood said they want to go in the transfer portal. So he's on the beach in Mexico in a Zoom room, or in his hotel room, doing Zooms with prospects that, 3 days ago we never would have considered because we had our group. And, it's just that, with the transfer portal kind of symbolizes the nature of things. But, like I'll give an example. Like last week, we were running our kids camp. So I'm helping with check-in in the mornings, overseeing the stations. Then I did a Zoom with our partners at FanStake, a call with Eric Grant from the Mecca Society, helped one of our former managers, Nasa Haraway, with some job applications. So it's a wide range of responsibilities, but I would say my kind of core responsibilities are roster management, like helping coach put together the roster, identifying the fits for the team, cost management, like, okay, we can get player X for this. Is that more valuable than player Y, who's a little bit better, but costs $100,000 more? Those types of conversations, understanding, our guys' value in the marketplace, and also kind of looking at what, other schools are doing, kind of being prepared for who might be entering the transfer portal that we have relationships with. The second thing is navigating our relationships kind of externally. So media, I work with Derek Bryan and Monica Lewis and kind of pitching stories. And we've done a really good job of getting coaches' message in the program out on a national platform. I think better than any lower mid-major program in the country. I mean, CNN, Anscape, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, the Washington Post, like really USA Today, Time Magazine, the list goes on. And Uninterrupted did that mini documentary a couple of years ago. And then, managing our relationships with NBA teams. And I think, we had all 30 teams see us last year, to see Blake Harper. And 2 of them came in person. 30, we've been in communication with all 30 and different things, but, being able to get those guys in our gym and have scouts there, general managers. Will Dawkins, the GM of the Wizards, sends his kid to our summer camps. So that's really cool to see really cool. Kind of, Washington, D.C., scouts are coming here. They may not be coming to see Howard, but while they're here to see Georgetown or see the Wizards or see the Capital City Go-Go, we accommodate them in the best of our ability. So if a scout's like, I'm going to a game at 4 and we're scheduled to practice at 4, a coach will move practice up to 1 so that we can get NBA people in our building who then will go on to see the game. A lot of our alumni outreach. So we do alumni dinners on the road. Brian's been a part of a couple of those. I think Chip, we were at the one in Atlanta this year, right?
Yep, correct.
So that's been really cool. Like the night before games, we go to a Black-owned restaurant in the city we travel to. We invite usually between like 8 to 10 alums to come dine with us. And the idea is, to connect the players to the Howard Alumni Network. The pride that people have in going to Howard is really, really immense. And we want our players to be able to take advantage of those connections. Now, we can put all of you in a room with the players, but that's not going to necessarily make them connect with you on LinkedIn or stay in touch and connect. Like some of them, Jelani Williams was great at that. Bryce Harris is great at that. Some of the others are, not as self-starter in that regard. But so doing the alumni engagement, kind of our social justice project, community outreach, Coach believes very heavily in community engagement. I think we do more community stuff than any program in the country. I mean, just a few examples. Our social justice project 2 years ago, Black Maternal Health, was awesome. We got nationally recognized by Planned Parenthood and the Women's Ambassador Conference for our day of service. We volunteered at a juvenile detention center 2 seasons ago. We'll do activations on the road. When we were in Atlanta, we did a student exchange program with Morehouse. Did a tour of CNN.
Y'all really did.
In Philadelphia, I don't know. Have you guys seen the movie Concrete Cowboys?
I'm not seeing it
some
yet.
of it. Yeah.
So, okay, it's great. So it's with Idris Elba, and he's a black urban cowboy in West Philadelphia. Yeah. And it's based off of a true story called the Fletcher Street Riding Club, which is a stables and riding club designed to keep inner city youth off the streets and give them something productive to do, whether that's taking care of the stables, riding the horses, training them. So we went there and met with the kids, and the guys rode horses, and we've done documentary screenings on campus. When we were in Newark 2 years ago, we did an event with Mayor Baraka and MIDI at University High School, a school assembly. So it's a huge part of what we do. And then the last kind of 2 responsibilities I would say are, or 3, I guess. NIL, which ties into the roster management, but raising money, trying to be creative in how we raise money, strategic partnerships. We've got Vegetable and Butcher, which does grab-and-go breakfast for the guys. We've got NVUI, which does LASIK surgery for the players that are eligible. Fan Steak, you guys mentioned. Will McKinley, our creative director, brought Ann Pizza on board this year. Just doing different things, Relati, leather goods, just trying to be creative, because the reality is we don't have the one mega donor or the 20,000 super fanatical, you guys are fanatics, but I would guess the fanatic of Howard, athletics. And I always say that the big challenge is for very few people went to Howard where the athletics was a huge part of the student experience, where it's like you go to Duke and being a Cameron crazy is like a critical component. You go to Ohio State, going to the Horseshoe every Saturday is like the pinnacle of your student experience. And then that bond is like through the rest of your life. But because the team was so bad for much of the time between A.B. Williamson and Kenny, the bonds and like very few people went to games and had the basketball program be part of their experience. So getting them to kind of care and invest in that way is a lot harder, because they haven't followed the team for 30. I live and die with Vanderbilt football. Like that is every Saturday on my couch.
I'm glad you brought that up.
But there's not very many people who live and die with Howard. So, having to be creative in the NIL front, day-to-day operations, kind of just, travel, team meals, whatever needs to get done on a given day around the office, and including our summer camps. And then the last part is overseeing our student manager program. We have the number fluctuates. We always have a lot. We've had over 100 show up to the intro meetings at the beginning of the year. But last year we had about 25 to 30 that were truly committed, whatever their role was, whether that was, Ashley, Brian's daughter, who did our in-game entertainment and, campus relations, or we have people doing social media, people taking statistics, people doing the setting up team meals, helping with practice. Like, Coach is a very big believer in not turning any interested student away from the opportunity to get resume building experience. And it's been a really unique part of our program, and it's majority female. So it's one of the few settings I've seen in a male sport where you'll go to practice and there'll be more women than men, because so many of our managers, running the clock, handing out Gatorade, mopping the floor are women. So that's been really unique. And coach calls it the best incubator of young Black sports talent in America. And we've had managers go on to CBS Sports. Ashley was at the WNBA All-Star game this weekend. Harmony Bailey's with CBS this summer. Jordan Fletcher worked the NBA All-Star weekend last year. Faith Mulis-Manai did the Jordan Brand behind the scenes video. Naeem Briggs with USA Basketball. We had Zippy Gordon with the NBA HBCU fellowship. Sammy Douglas as well, part of that. Sanala Stevenson with the Utah Jazz and Monumental Sports. Really, really using the experience they get as a launch pad to opportunities to further themselves. So that was a very long-winded answer to my.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great answer. You're really good. You're really good. and I want to say this to you as well. The great John Thompson said that it's really important, and he was specifically talking about African-American kids, and Chip probably remembers this. He said that it's important to not discourage them from being enthusiastic about sports, because sports doesn't have to end with just playing. And, not only are you a living embodiment of that, but it's just great to hear that idea resonate from a DC legend and then see a DC native bring it to fruition. That's awesome, man. That's really awesome, man. Again, about the age thing, but I'm so proud of you. I really am, man. That's just awesome, man.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. We haven't seen E in a while, man. You got me in my feelings right now. This is good.
Yeah, man.
But Chip, you had a question there. What'd you have?
Well, no, go ahead. You go, B.
Well, I was going to ask a question that's unfair to Daniel, so I want to get some unfair questions going, because with you describing everything you do and with your experiences, working with the NBA, I want to know from you, in the short time you've been with Howard, who would you say is the most underrated player we've had on our roster?
Most underrated.
Underrated.
Good question.
You mentioned people that we still think about: Steve Settle, Elijah. We have a bunch of guys that you hear about, but there's some guys that you see the whole roster. You know about the whole roster. Who would you say the most underrated player we've had since you've been with the program?
That is a tough question. I have to just going back year by year.
Yep.
I would say probably the most underrated, who doesn't really get talked about a lot, but was Khalil Robinson.
Wow.
Khalil was just a very steadying force. And that team, the thing that made that team special in 22-23 was when we were healthy, we just legit 5-in, 5-out platoons, and we just wore teams out. So the first group was Elijah Hawkins, Marcus Dockery, Steve Settle, Jordan Wood, Shai Odom. Shai was great as a small ball 5 that year in the MEAC, rookie of the year. And then off the bench, you had Khalil, Jelani, Osi Akoji, Kobe Dixon, and
Bryce. Right?
And Bryce, yeah.
Bryce.
And so that was bringing those guys off the bench, that was those guys would start for most MEAC programs. And, Khalil was just a very stabilizing force and allowed Elijah played so hard and was so good, but allowing him to be fresh, throughout the games to where he could pick up 94 feet, he could play at the speed that he played at without getting tired. I think, that would be my answer. Wow. I would say, because I feel like Jelani's gotten his flowers. Like Jelani, everyone, knows about the impact that he's had.
That's right.
Elijah Williams with his MEAC tournament performance in 2024, that kind of came out of nowhere. That was really, really special. But Khalil's not a guy you usually hear talked about. And he was part of Coach Blakeney's first recruiting class with Steve Settle. So
wow,
being able to come and see that through, I would go with Khalil.
I like that. That's a great answer, man. I knew you would have it for me. I just know it's unfair because he has to love all the players. I don't want him to. Right. I don't want to make it hard for you at practice tomorrow.
No. I was definitely not going to choose anyone on this current team.
Smart play.
And you know,
go ahead.
I was saying kind of as a segue, and like Daniel, there's so much stuff we want to cover. It's amazing. Kind of as a segue, and I want to give you and the rest of the staff kind of a shout out, because you know, just kind of like you and KB, when that 2022 transfer portal hit and Elijah left and settled, I mean, we were all just like, whoa, what the hell? Like, we're just getting started. But as you talked about, roster management, like I'm gonna do a question and a statement. Like, first, I want to give you guys kudos, because I think Bison Nation was in an uproar and just a lot of fear when all those guys left. But I can wholeheartedly say that, like, the team has gotten better. Like, every year, you guys have built a roster that is outstanding, from a talent perspective. And so the question is kind of what goes into that process? Like, what is some of your secret sauce, if you will, that allows you to find the right players for this program, especially in this transfer portal area and the challenges that you face?
Yeah, I think the one thing, we talk about with our program is EGBs, energy generating behaviors. So those are the things that coach believes lead to winning above all else. Sprinting the floor in 6 seconds, getting back on defense, pointing and talking, dapping up your teammates, loose ball recoveries, offensive and defensive rebounds, contested shots, blocks, like things that have nothing to do with scoring. So we call that being a hunter. So we look for guys that kind of embody that mentality. So, Jelani Williams and Bryce Harris would probably be the two. Elijah Hawkins was, that way as well. Kind of like those embodiments of just leaving it all on the line, whether they score 20 points or they score 2 points. It's, they're going to leave their mark on the game. And that's the, kind of the hallmark of the culture and what we look for. It's hard. The hardest part for us is when you're recruiting at the MEAC level. So if you look at the postseason teams from last year, all MEAC, every single player that had eligibility left transferred, gone.
Yep.
So the league, turns over constantly. And the issue with that is the players that are transferring from a high major to the MEAC, that are going to come down to us have very limited minutes. Dom Campbell played, I think, 35 minutes at Notre Dame as a freshman. Marcus Dockery probably played 100 combined minutes in 2 years at Maryland. Munir Hima did not play very much at Syracuse. Alex Cotton, who's on the roster this year, didn't play a ton at North Texas the last couple of years. So it's evaluating, a lot of it's going back to like the high school evaluations you had of these players and their staff. And because that's just really hard. Like, they're playing 35 minutes and most of the time it's garbage time. So it's like evaluating that, it's not an exact science. So you really have to go back. Whereas, Creighton can watch 1.5 million clips of Blake Harper on offense and defense this year because he played, 36 minutes a game for us. So they have a ton of information to base their decisions off of, whereas we're making decisions off a lot less recent film. So I think that's kind of the biggest challenge when it comes to the portal. And I think, the thing that, we really the last 2 years never got to see kind of the potential of those teams because, 2 years ago, Jelani broke his wrist. He's out for the year. Isaiah Warfield missed a lot of time. OC missed a lot of time. It was just kind of Shai Odom was out. Dom was out. Like we won the MEAC tournament with basically playing 6 players. And then, some of the guys got back by the NCAA tournament, but, we're kind of out of a rhythm, out of shape. Just getting back in the swing of things. And I think with that last year was kind of a similar story, Bryce breaks his foot, so he misses the year. We had the just inconsistency, availability. Anwar Gill missed a week because of an illness, and we just never there was the stretch where we played Bowie State and Morehouse back to back, we had like six or seven available players. Norfolk State at Norfolk, we had like 7 guys dressed. So we've just kind of been bitten by the injury bug. And I think this year, the way that we built the roster is there's a lot more depth to it, where it's like if we have those injuries, which we're hoping, knock on wood, we don't have, and we can kind of see what this group can become. But like you feel good about the depth that we've been able to create. And I think we'll be able to resemble more so that 22-23 team in terms of, you know, the mass substitutions that we have the last 2 years.
Given what how you just laid that out, what players really embodied what you say, EGB? What players really bore fruit from that, where you, like you say, you didn't have any film on them, or you kind of had to go back to high school? Who could you say, they had so much EGB that it sort of obfuscated, if you will, all the traditional ways you would evaluate a player, and that EGB really brought it home for you that, hey, this is somebody that's going to work out?
Are you saying on this year's team or just in general?
In general.
I think for coach, it was Jelani. I think Jelani was responsible for a lot of kind of the transformation of the culture. He had 3 ACL tears, had to step away from basketball, played 1 year at Penn.
We interviewed him.
They didn't do great that season, but came home and was a very mature leader, and like was just so grateful to be playing basketball that whatever was asked of him, he just really set the tone for that team, that 22-23 year. I think Bryce Harris, really embodies those behaviors. Those would be the two kind of that jump to my mind right away.
All right. Yeah, I really like EGB. Don't be mad. It's on a shirt somewhere. Don't be mad.
And I'll throw my prognostication for this season. I'm gonna continue to shout out my man from Chicago, Calvin Robbins, Dunk Master Flex. I think he's gonna be the EGB.
No, Calvin
player.
definitely embodies the EGBs, and Calvin had a really late start to being part of the roster. He didn't join the team till like last August, like a few days before our foreign tour to Brazil, and then we had some injuries, and he was able to come on the tour and played well, and then didn't really play much throughout non-conference, but kind of practiced hard, was in the gym. He's a stupid athletic, really, really powerful athlete, and started to embrace the things he needed to do to where he became, all freshman last year in the MEAC, and a great guy. And Calvin also, in addition to his on-court talents, he makes custom rugs. I don't know if you guys have seen that video.
Wow. Yeah.
So he does
these Renaissance people.
Custom rugs, which is a really, cool thing.
Daniel, man, we appreciate you really coming on, man. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun.
Indeed. So, hey, Bison Nation, continue to support these championship teams, support Daniel, KB, Steve, Rod, the whole coaching staff, Mel, Ty Grace, and everybody. We thank you for coming. And so, you've been watching the show. You know how we're going to end this right now. And the call to action, of course, continue to support this podcast. But we're going to end this show with the great Daniel Marks, like we end all of our shows. You know.